What's up, beautiful people? It's your boy Micah. And you know what it is. Here we talk tips and perspectives so that you can live freely in reality. This question comes from, we're going to get right into it. This question comes from Kathy, who asked, does my wife feel differently being a lesbian married to me, who is a man, transgender man? And has anything changed, I guess, is what they want to know. And hopefully that is your preferred name because that's what's on your profile. So shout out to Kathy for asking this question. Real quick before I even get into it, I'm not offended by anybody asking questions about my own transition or about my relationships or anything like that. I enjoy the conversations. I love when you guys ask questions. I love to answer questions and give perspective. That's all that we do here, is talk about mindset, transition, relationships, everything. That's what I do here. So I don't feel offended by it. Appreciate the question that you ask in good faith to want to understand. In the description, there is a link that you can hit that you can buy your boy a coffee to support what I do here at the Realistically Free channel, which is the live streams every Friday nights and all these videos that I post during the week too. Anyway, I think that a lot of times people ask this question because I think in the transgender community, specifically transmasculine, I want to talk about it in that context. Transmasculine individual dating or married to a lesbian. The question comes about, and I think the question comes from this place of thinking that, well, if your wife is a lesbian, how can she be attracted to you? Or she must not be a lesbian. Or if she is a lesbian and you're married still, then she must not be attracted to you, or she doesn't view you wholly as a man. And that's just downright wrong. And I'm going to explain why and explain the context a little bit deeper of our relationship. I do want to make a video with my wife, but for a couple reasons, and I'm going to explain that why she hasn't made a video with me. One, she's camera shy. She doesn't really like being on camera, and she doesn't like the second thing is she feels like she's being prodded at, or she feels like her identity is being gatekept because she's married to me, a transgender man, and she is a lesbian. That's the main reasons why she hasn't made a video with me. But I want to talk about my perspective, and I'm also going to share a little bit of the conversations that we have had because this question gets asked so much. First off, being a lesbian, being gay, bisexual, non-binary, transgender, any of these things, right? They're immutable, unchangeable things about us. We cannot change our sexuality. We cannot change our gender identity. It's something that you just are. We don't know why. There's no like scientific research to really explain why transgender people or lesbians or bisexual or gay people, why we exist. And there is no psychological reason. We just are. We're just born this way, right? So that's that. We'll get that out. And because of that, I'm going to say this. Her being a lesbian has nothing to do with my transgender identity, has nothing to do with me being a man. The reality is my wife is attracted to, sexually aroused by, and likes women. Now, it hasn't always been easy within our relationship for a couple reasons, and I've touched on this in other videos. You know, when I first started transitioning and I came out, my wife started to question her sexuality because of so many people who would go and say, well, you can't be a lesbian because you're married to Michael, who's a man. And so she went through this process of trying to figure out, well, does this mean I'm not a lesbian because everybody's telling me that I'm not? We internalize things that people say to us, but in reality, and I'll also take accountability for the fact that I internalized things that people said and said, well, you can't be a lesbian if you're married to me, because of my own insecurities. And what we came to find is that the reality is, when you're married to someone, I'm grown. My wife is grown. We grown. I'm almost 30. And again, I've been with my wife for 10 years, almost 11 years. The reality is, when you're married to someone and you make a commitment to someone, you do what you got to do to make it work. That's one. You cannot base your whole relationship upon feelings. Feelings change, right? And you work through it as things happen. And so when you make a commitment, and that's not to say that people who are married to people who are transitioning and cannot make it work, that they're bad, because they're not. Everybody's relationship and everybody's wants and needs are different, and that's okay. But the reality is that, you know, we made it work, okay? Our bond in my mind and in my wife's mind and the conversations we had, our bond transcends her sexuality and my gender. Now, if I would have been already transitioning or been a cisgendered man and come up to her before any of this and before we created a bond and all of those things, we would not be together, because my wife is not interested in men. Because of the fact that when I met my wife, I presented as a woman, it was easier because she's already liked women. She grew an attachment to me. I grew an attachment to her. There was a sexual attraction there. And that's how all relationships, or most relationships, start, is through a physical attraction, a sexual attraction. If not a sexual attraction, at least a physical attraction, right? Like, oh, you think that person looks good, you think that person's cute, or whatever the case may be, because you don't know that person to even feel anything else for them other than what you see. We built a relationship, right? And there was that attraction there. As the years went by, you start to realize when you're married or when you're in a relationship with someone for a long period of time, you know, you're not always wanting to have sex. You're not always wanting to, you're not always having fun. You're not always partying. You're not always laughing. You're not always doing something interesting. Sometimes it's boring, you know, and that's the reality of it, because not everybody is fun all the time, or parties all the time, or horny all the time. It's just not realistic. It's not sustainable. We built this relationship, right? We built the relationship, and we built the foundation of trust, respect, honesty, love. But sometimes love ain't enough. You have to have these other things. And so I'll give you an example, right? My wife recently wanted to cut her hair, and she was telling me, oh, babe, I don't know if I should cut my hair. I don't want you to not be attracted to me. I don't know if you're gonna like it. What if you don't want me anymore? And these things, right? And me being the blunt and direct person that I am, I straight up told her, I don't know if I'm gonna like your haircut. And that's okay. That it's not gonna change me being attracted to you. Because at the end of the day, what we have now, all these years later, is deeper than the physical. I know your character. I know your morals, your values, and they're in alignment with my morals and my values and my character. And because of that, it's translated into a sexual attraction. So no matter how many piercings you put in your face, or the makeup that you want to wear, or the hairstyle that you do, that's not going to change my sexual attraction to you, because I'm already attracted to you sexually, because of the fact that I am emotionally invested. I am connected with you. You are connected with me. And that translates into a sexual attraction. Does that make sense, guys? So at the end of the day, you know, she still sees me as a man. She still respects me. She still loves me. She still sees me as a man, and she's still sexually attracted to me, because I didn't change. You follow what I'm saying? I'm still the same person. My morals, my values, my character, all of those things are the same. I've never changed in that respect. I've gotten better in a lot of other places, and I'm a better version of Micah now, but at the core of me, I'm still essentially the same person. The only thing that has changed is my physical, the outside, right? So I've always been a man internally, and so she is in love with me. I'm in love with her. We love each other. We made a commitment to each other, you know, when we married each other. Legally and spiritually, we made this commitment to each other, and because of that, we are able to still be in a happy marriage, right? And you know, granted, she's still a lesbian. That does not change. Her sexuality cannot change, because it's not something that you can change, right? So if we're walking in a grocery store or walking down the beach somewhere, and she sees a fine woman, she'll turn to me and be like, damn, babe, like, she fine, or she got a fat ass, or whatever. And I laugh, and I, you know, whatever, because I think sometimes we live in this fantasy world too, that people think that just because you are married, you have to turn off your sexuality or turn off your attraction, and it's impossible. You cannot do that. I still am attracted to women. You know, I'm still attracted to other women. So we could be walking around somewhere, and I might find someone attractive, and we don't get insecure or butthurt over it, because I'm still a human being. I love you. That doesn't change my love for her, right? That doesn't change my commitment to her. I wouldn't act upon doing something outside of our marriage that we have not agreed upon. Does that make sense? But it doesn't change that I like women. It doesn't change that she likes women. It has nothing to do with each other. They don't have to correlate. And so, I mean, there are plenty of other instances where you can see this. There are gay men, right, who will marry women because they have a deep connection with them, or a deep bond, and they love them, and they'll marry women, and somehow it turns into a sexual thing. They'll have families, they'll have children, and maybe down the road they may decide they don't want to be together anymore, because maybe that gay man wants to have relations with the man, but they deal with it at that time. I've seen couples that are married, like the guy is gay and the woman is a lesbian, and they're married because they bond and they love each. They may not have sex in some instances, or sometimes they do, and have families. It just depends on the people in the relationship, right? But not all relationships in marriage are about gender and about sex. You'll find when you've been with someone for a long period of time, or married to someone, that you barely have sex, or if you do have sex, it's not like you're like when you first started dating them and you're fucking every single day, you know. But yeah, we still have a healthy sex life. We still have a great relationship, because we communicate our thoughts and our emotions, and we help each other out, and we work through things. We're each other's support system, and we have a lot of respect, a lot of honesty, a lot of love, a lot of commitment to each other to make it work. And if it changes down the line, then it changes. I'm okay with that. She's okay with that, because I understand in some instances not everything lasts forever anyway, so we just go with the flow, right? So I hope that this kind of helps in your question, Kathy, and anybody else who may be asking this question. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And like I said, down in the description, there's a link that you can support your boy, buy a coffee for me. If you support the work that I do here, if you want to help your boy out, I appreciate that. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.